Hello, everyone. My name is Shami, and I had the opportunity to mentor Jannet N this time, who is an eighth grader at Rancho. And Jannet is, if I have to describe her, very bright, artistic, with a very definite point of view, which I admired during our session. So it was a great experience learning from her as well. She was very clear on what she wanted to do for her project. She wanted to find a way to learn more about the different biomes and living conditions for the various species of plants and animals. And she has done an amazing job researching the biomes and how to convert that information into a game. Also, to go ahead and start learning the coding concept, which she did not have too much experience in. So, but she picked up some really difficult concepts like messaging during this session, which is really inspiring. So, she is a self starter, very motivated. And without any further ado, I present Jannet to talk more about her interesting game.
Thank you. That was really nice. Okay. Hi, I'm Jannet N, like Shami said, and I'm an eighth grader at Rancho Milpitas Middle School. And today I will be presenting what I've been working on for like the past 20 or so weeks. First, I would like to introduce my mentor, Shami. She is from Mumbai, India, and now works in the Bay Area in the computer science field, managing technical projects. She has a master's degree in computer science and a bachelor's degree in engineering computer science. She has various hobbies such as listening to music, cooking, reading, and painting, and she has been such a huge help with my project. She gave me motivation to try my best, guidance when I was lost, and she had faith in my game even when I didn't. So, big fat thanks to Shami. Thank you. Um, to create my project, I use Scratch, which is a platform where people can design games, digital stories, and animations. From scratch, I created my own game called Alluring Admiral. The title actually uses alliteration, which is something I use a lot in my work because I really like it. In my game, you are faced with the task of matching the right plants or animals in the right spot. The criteria for each level differs as the game progresses. The levels get increasingly harder. I provided the player information about the plants, environments, and the animals, but it's up to the player to determine if the information is the truth or if it's there to trick them. I selected this project because I wanted to do something fun and creative while still including coding. I also enjoy playing video games in my free time, so I felt like I knew how to make a game fun. While making this game, I learned many valuable lessons, but to name a few, I learned how to use Scratch, which is something I will probably be using more in my future, how to effectively communicate with my mentor, and the art of making pretty visuals in my game. As of now, the game is complete and fully functioning, but I feel like if I put more work into it, it can be improved in some ways. While working on this game, I had a lot of highlights. In the beginning, I struggled a lot with coming up with an idea for my project. When I came to that realization that I could make a game, it was still pretty hard to find an idea that would work. I went through a lot of ideas that just wouldn't work, and then finally, I had the idea of making a game about nature and more specifically plants. I actually own a couple plants myself. My collection is mostly made up of succulents because they're really easy to take care of. And I started my collection in the beginning of quarantine. And as I mentioned before, I really like playing video games. So making a game about plants and like nature in general was a really good idea. And it was really like, it was perfect, kind of. Another highlight I had was making the title screen. I thought it looked really cute and set a good path for the rest of the game. And then another highlight I had was deleting the previous title screen and making a completely new one because I realized the first one didn't really look that good and didn't match the rest of the game. So I really liked the new one that was really professional, put together, but still charming and cute. Another moment of happiness for me was having the game work. It's like a really big part of having a game is that it works and that you can play it. It literally felt like a dream come true because I love gaming and having a game that works that I made was really cool. Um, Working on the game taught me some valuable lessons too. I used to leave all my work for Magic for the weekend, so I was pretty stressed out. I believe Vera said something about this too, about how she left her work for the weekend, which is something I did too, because on the weekdays I was really swamped with homework and work from other clubs and work from extracurriculars. So it's really hard to manage it out. But once I realized that leaving the work for weekends wasn't going to work, I managed to make some time in my weekdays and started working on game work during the weekdays. Um, Another lesson I learned was that I shouldn't work too much on issues that I couldn't control because I had Shami there to help me. Um, Having this reliable source is something kind of foreign to me, but just because it was unfamiliar didn't mean it was bad. And having the support was amazing. It relieved so much stress off me and gave me time to focus on more important work or work that I actually had control over. Another lesson I learned was that debugging can be fun. I used to think that I used to just want things to go perfectly the first time I did it, but then I realized the beauty in debugging. This It gives you an opportunity to learn from your mistake, and it's really satisfying to see it all work out. Um, a big lesson I learned was how to manage a big project. I really liked the method that Magic used, where you can like dissect your project into digestible pieces each week, and I definitely will be using that in future projects. In life, everything comes with challenges, and this project was no exception. In the beginning, one major challenge was the code. Of course, this was a big problem because if the code didn't work, then the game was doomed, and I would have failed, and the world would have been over. Thankfully, some miracle working saved the game, and the code was able to work, and the game was able to function. Another challenge was researching information about plants, animals, and biomes. I knew that it would take a long time, but I didn't know it would take like a really long time, especially since I was researching a lot of things at once. And another big challenge for me was graphic design. I thought that the game was kind of ugly, the things didn't match together, and it was not cohesive. And it really discouraged me from working on my game because the design was really ugly and it was boring and it made me sad to look at it. And then after some hours of like sitting down and putting some hard work into it, I made it acceptable. And another thing that I had to do to make it better was delete a couple designs completely and start over from scratch. So in this slide, you will see two versions of my title screen. On the left is title screen before it was revised and before it was completely deleted. As you can see, the colors don't really match, and there's like two random butterflies on the bottom right and the top, no, on the bottom left and the top right. And the buttons saying start and practice blended into the background, which was really light. And it's kind of sad and it's hard to see the buttons. On my revised version, everything is a lot more defined. The buttons have shading so it pops out of the background, and the two random butterflies actually match together. And the rectangle design with the different colors is inspired by the Powerpuff Girls heart design on the top right. So on this slide, it shows two pictures from April 1st. Um, these are just pictures and not actual screenshots, since I didn't take a lot of screenshots in the beginning because I thought it would stay the same, but it definitely changed. I don't think the screens look very put together. They just don't match. Like level one is orange, and then the practice is like a light green, and it's just very plain. There's not a lot of visuals about the biomes. It's kind of just boxes, so I didn't really like that much. So this is my practice screen. On the earlier screenshots, you would see how there's a start button and a practice button. If you click the practice button, it would take you to this practice screen. And this screen was actually inspired by Harry Styles songs because I was listening to them while I was making it. So the background is watermelon, like his song Watermelon Sugar. And in the name of the guide at the bottom, it mentions Sunflower Styles, and Sunflower is a popular song of his, and Styles is literally named after his name. And if you notice, the guide's name also use alliteration, which is something I mentioned that I would use before, and you can call the guide Chad for short. On this slide, it shows us level 1. After clicking the start button that I mentioned before, you would show the transition slide on the left talking about the 2 biomes that you would be working with, the California biome and the underwater biome. These environments are very broad to make it easier for level 1. On the green side of level 1, which is on the right of the screen, that would represent the California biome, and the blue side would represent the underwater biome. There's a point in a timer system, so if you would reach 6 points, since there are 6 plants that you need to match up in the right biome and criteria, you would move to level 2. And if the timer reached 0 seconds, then you would go to a game over screen, and you would have to start all the way over. If you clicked on the plants themselves, they would show information boxes about the plants and about their conditions to survive. Here, this slide shows us level 2. So as I mentioned earlier, if you reach 6 points, you would go to level 2. And it also has a transition slide talking about the biomes, the tundra and the taiga. On the left of the screenshot of level 2, that would be the tundra, and on the right would be the taiga. If you see that green box in like the top middle, that would be where the plants and animals would pop up, and you would have to click on them to read information boxes. And you would also have to click on the environments themselves, because they also have information you need to read. And once you finish matching them up, you would get enough points to move on to the next part. There's only 2 levels to this game, since working on it took a really long time, and I unfortunately didn't have enough time to make a 3rd level. So now you would reach the end screen where it would say congratulations and a quick thank you note, and at the end it reminds the player to reduce, reuse, and recycle. If you want to see this game for yourself, you can click to this link in the presentation, and yeah, and it has a little animation in the front too.
Do you want me to click on start or practice? Janet, should I do one of those?
You can click on the practice one.
Practice?
So it would show you a transition screen, which I didn't mention in my presentation since it was really short. And now the guide would give you a quick tutorial. And then if you click start, it would show you the transition screen that I talked about. And then it would show you level 1.
I'm not going to try to play it because I might fail, but can I show the inside? Can I click on the inside? That'll show the code, right? I clicked on it earlier and very complicated.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sprites, which is what you would call the icons on the bottom right. And all of them have a bunch of different codes. And if you also click on the stage.
Where is it?
The sprites are on the bottom right.
These are the sprites, right?
And if you would click on them, they all have different codes that pop up.
Right. This is brilliant work. How much you've put so much work into this.
Thank you.
Did you want me to do something else?
No, I think that's pretty much it for my presentation.
Okay, sorry.
Wonderful. What a fantastic job. So many comments again, amazing. And it looks fantastic. And as Ira said, you've clearly put so much work into this. Love the pink and green color scheme. Wonderful. If anybody has any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute or pop them in the chat.
Hi, I have a question. This is Smriti. Great job, Janet. I think it's also amazing how much work and just seeing all the different codes for different elements kind of blows my mind. And it seems like an awesome game to learn more. I was wondering if you had, while you're working through this, if you had any ideas or inspirations for other kinds of games or ways we could learn more.
I actually didn't. While I was working on this game, all I was really focused on was this game in particular, so I didn't really have any ideas for upcoming games. But I think
Definitely, I can imagine. That's totally cool. Well, I look forward to seeing the game and trying it out and seeing what you do next.
Thank you.
Hi, Janet. This is Sheetal. Good job done. So you mentioned that debugging, you love debugging, right? So that's very important, actually. Debugging is really, really important, like whenever you code, whatever thing. So I just wanted to know, like, can you give us some example on what way did you use to debug any difficult thing that you face? Like, how did you do? So can you give us some example?
Well, I didn't really have. I had some problems with the code, but most of them were solved by like Shami helping me by like pointing out what was wrong. And another thing that helped was looking at examples of other games to see how they did what they did in their code and using the same like method in my code. So that definitely helped me.
I have a question. So you so you use Scratch, right? So did you know Scratch before? Did you learn the entire Scratch program for this project?
Yeah, this was my first time using Scratch.
Wow.